The wind sweeps across the Great Plains, whispering through endless grasses beneath an immense sky. This land is a place of extremes, scorching summers, brutal winters, and sudden storms. Life here has always been a test of endurance. Look closer. Among the gentle swells, a shallow rectangular hollow marks the ghost of a home, a dugout. More than a century ago, this patch of earth sheltered families who carved their lives from the prairie itself. These faint outlines are all that remain of countless stories, forgotten footnotes in the saga of westward expansion. The true story of this land is not just of rugged men, but of women and children, of families facing unimaginable hardship. Their first homes were not grand cabins, but humble shelters dug from the very soil. Dugouts were the first foothold in a vast, unforgiving wilderness. Today, prairie grasses reclaim these old wounds, and the evidence fades with each season. But if we listen, the wind still carries echoes of their presence. It tells a story of determination, innovation, and the quiet strength of the women who helped build a nation. These are stories worth unearthing, a vital chapter in the history of this remarkable landscape. The prairie remembers, even as the scars fade. In these echoes we find the roots of resilience that shaped the American West. The first settlers on the Great Plains found themselves in a treeless sea, grass stretching for hundreds of miles, with precious few trees only along rivers. Used to forests, they faced a daunting challenge: how to build a home with no wood or stone. The Homestead Act promised land but required a dwelling. Survival demanded ingenuity. The answer lay beneath their feet. Sod, held together by dense roots, became their building material. Inspired by Native American earth lodges, settlers learned to cut and stack sod bricks, turning the land itself into shelter. With no sawmills or lumber yards, families built homes with what they could carry and what the prairie provided. The dugout was a direct, efficient response, a primal return to seeking shelter within the earth. It was not about comfort, but survival. These homes were born of necessity, shaped by the relentless sun, winter blizzards, and prairie fires. The land became both their adversary and their refuge. In the treeless sea, the earth itself became home. Building a dugout began with choosing a hillside or creek bank, using the land as both wall and roof. Settlers dug a modest pit, often just 10 by 12 feet, using only shovels and plows. The front wall was built from heavy sod bricks, stacked like stone, with mud filling the gaps. If they had wood, a door frame and small window might be added. The roof, the greatest challenge, was made from logs or poles, brush, and a thick layer of sod, creating a living, camouflaged roof. These homes blended into the prairie, nearly invisible from above. The thick earth walls and sod roof provided remarkable insulation, cool in summer, warm in winter. A small stove could heat the single room, while the earth shielded against the harshest weather. Life inside was cramped and dark, but secure. The dugout was a fortress against the elements, carved from the heart of the prairie. The frontier story is often told as a man's tale, but women were the unseen architects of prairie life. Women and older children cut, lifted, and placed the heavy sod bricks, often doing the hardest labor. The Homestead Act allowed unmarried, widowed, or deserted women to claim land. Thousands seized this chance for independence. These women built their own shelters, broke sod, and cultivated crops, defying gender roles out of necessity and ambition. A single sod brick could weigh 50 pounds. Building a wall meant lifting tons of earth. Girls as young as 10 helped mix mud, carry water, and learn the skills of construction. Women became builders, farmers, and engineers, essential to survival. Their strength and resourcefulness were the foundation of every homestead. Their names may be missing from monuments, but their legacy is written in the land. The prairie settlements stand as silent testimony to the women who built them. The struggles of prairie women come alive in the rare stories that survive. Mary Meyer, arriving in Nebraska in the 1870s, built and maintained a dugout with her husband, sweeping dirt floors, patching leaky sod roofs, and enduring endless work. The Chrisman sisters, 4 unmarried women, claimed adjoining homesteads, built their own dugout, and proved up all 4 claims, becoming landowners in a man's world. Their story, captured in photographs, defies every frontier stereotype. Across the plains, women like Mary and the Chrismans faced blizzards, droughts, and loneliness, often while raising children and managing households. Their achievements were measured not in battles, but in survival and the creation of home. These stories, etched in the memory of the sod, revealed the true spirit of the frontier. Women's resilience and solidarity shaped the prairie as much as any man's labor. Their legacy is not just survival, but transformation. In their hands, the dugout became a symbol of radical independence and hope. Life inside a dugout was a daily struggle against the elements and the earth itself. Interiors were cramped, dark, and often damp, furnished with little more than homemade beds and tables. Families of 6 or more shared a single room with no privacy and constant dust. Insects, mice, and even snakes were unwelcome but frequent visitors. Women managed relentless chores, cooking on smoky stoves, hauling water, and battling dirt that seeped from every surface. Isolation was as harsh as any storm. Neighbors could be miles away, and loneliness weighed heavily. Yet women brought comfort and dignity to these earthen homes, papering walls with newspaper, planting wild flowers on sod roofs, and creating beauty amid hardship. These small acts of defiance turned a hole in the ground into a true home. The dugout was more than shelter. It was a place of resilience and hope. Within these walls, families forged a powerful sense of belonging. The prairie's harshness was met with quiet determination. In the darkness, women created light. Dugouts were never meant to last. They were a first, desperate step toward survival. As soon as families could, they built frame houses, leaving behind the darkness and struggle of the earth. The arrival of the railroad changed everything, bringing affordable timber and mail-order house kits. Economic success from harvests allowed homesteaders to invest in new homes. Dugouts quickly became symbols of poverty or recent arrival, not progress. By the early 20th century, most had been abandoned or repurposed as barns or root cellars. Without constant care, sod walls and roofs eroded, collapsing into the earth. Only shallow depressions remained, a subtle scar on the prairie. The era of the dugout faded as quickly as it began, yet their memory lingers in the land. Today, the remains of dugouts are nearly invisible. Subtle hollows in the land, reclaimed by grass, structures built of earth return to earth, erasing all but the faintest traces. Sometimes a lilac bush or a shard of glass hints at a vanished home. Only a handful of original dugouts survive, preserved by historical societies as rare artifacts. Visiting these sites offers a glimpse into a forgotten world. Cool earth, dim light, and the reality of life within. Most of the history is written in absences, silent dips and hollows, witnesses to forgotten struggles. Archaeologists use technology to find what the eye cannot see, but most sites are lost to time and the plough. The prairie has reclaimed its own, leaving only faint scars as memorials. These subtle marks are all that remain of a generation's resilience. The land remembers, even as the world forgets. The story of the American West is often told as a grand epic, but the quiet daily work of settling the land is just as heroic. The history of the dugout is a story of humility, adaptation, and a deep relationship with the land. At its heart are the women, homesteaders, builders, and farmers whose resilience shaped the prairie. Their labor and courage have been largely overlooked, yet they created homes, raised families, and built communities against all odds. To forget them is to misunderstand how the West was truly settled. The erasure of dugouts mirrors the erasure of these women from our memory. But their legacy endures in the land, in farming communities, and in the spirit of endurance that still defines the region. History is made not only by the famous, but by countless anonymous individuals whose struggles shape our world. It is our responsibility to remember and tell these quieter histories. By honoring the dugout women, we gain a truer understanding of our past. The most enduring legacies are not always carved in stone, but written in the earth. Their stories live on in the prairie winds and in the stories we choose to tell.